We had some issues, couldn't jump on last week. There wasn't a whole lot of news to really cover, so we figured we'd push it all onto this week. But we've got some stuff for you if you guys are ready to get started. You ready, Matt?
Absolutely. Let's get to it.
All right, let's get her done. Let's see. All right, so Matt, how you doing today?
I'm good. Missed you last week. Let's aim for.
Yeah. Speaking of last week, I did go check out Promising Young Woman, which is a movie you've talked about a lot over the last couple of videos. It's a movie you really recommended. There was a theater playing nearby. I was able to go check it out, and I loved it. Your recommendation totally held up. I thought it was great.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what kind of legs that has on the upcoming award season. Obviously Oscars don't mean everything. They mean nothing to some people, but it is nice to see a movie like that, first-time director, writer, really important, relevant story, kind of get the recognition that it deserves. So I'm really excited to see where that goes next couple months.
Right, and it's super topical, and those usually do well, in award season as long as they're well done, which that one definitely was. So,
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that too. Now, since we didn't have a show last week, there's a couple bits of news. It's been really slow news weeks for the last couple weeks anyways. Last week, there was a couple bits of news that we were going to cover, but since that show fell through, we'll just talk about them here. One being that the Snyder Cut is no longer going to be a series, a 4-part series like it had been talked about. Zack Snyder came out and said it's going to be a 4-hour-long movie. What do you think, Matt? Is that a good idea?
In a word, no. I mean,
right.
I'm very indifferent on the first cut of the Justice League. I don't really need to see it. I'll definitely watch it. Don't know if I'll watch it all in one sitting. I mean, the word that comes to mind is just audacity. Just like the audacity of Zack Snyder to say my movie deserves to be 4 hours long. Now, I think it was maybe Roger Ebert who said no good movie is too long, no bad movie is too short. And you kind of agree with that to a point. But do you know how good your movie has to be worthy of, again, 4 hours? I mean,
right.
Unless they're expecting people to split up into 2 viewings, but then you could have just done the 4 episodes if you're expecting that. So I want to watch it all in one sitting to see how it plays, but that's a big commitment for something I'm not especially excited for, aside from just it's finally going to be here. I'm just curious about it at this point.
Yeah. Now, I hated the Justice League, the one, the Justice League, whatever they want to call it. I absolutely despised that movie. I've only seen it once. That was more than enough for me. And I'll fully admit, I was one of those people online telling the Snyder bots who were chanting, release the Snyder Cut and all this, that you're crazy. It's never going to happen. I kept telling them that. So I'll eat my words on this. And now that it is going to happen, I'm pretty excited. But I thought, that the series what made more sense. I thought the series was going to be a better idea. The only, really plus to this is it's going to be on HBO Max. So you're at home, you can pause it, you can get up, you can take those breaks. I mean, you can treat it like a series if you want, right? People talked about doing that with The Irishman, Martin Scorsese's Netflix movie, which was like 3.5 hours or so. I watched it, all in one, and I plan to do that here as well. But like you said, when you make something that long, it's got to be really good to hold up. I was arguing with somebody online about how that's not a good runtime for a movie. I said, this is, kind of an exception because it's at home. And they were like, oh, well, look at the Lord of the Rings. Those averaged at like 4 hours. And I said, no, those were like the extended cuts that you could watch at home. The theatrical cuts, the first 2 movies were under 3 hours, and the second one was under 3.5. Like the ones that you could watch at home were longer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. And that's kind of the word I keep going back to. But I mean, if you think about the movies that are pushing 3.5 hours, you mentioned The Irishman, Endgame was, I think, 320 maybe. Godfather Part 2 was 3.5. But think about the movies that are in that conversation, and then you're adding 30 to 40 minutes on top of that. I mean, to be able to hold your attention and hold the coherent and engaging story for that much time, if he can do it, more power to him. I'm just not super hopeful about what this final product's going to look like. But like you said, I'll eat my words if it turns out to be great. I hope it is. I mean, I don't want anything to be bad. So I hope it's excellent.
You're going to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm curious to see what this will do to Zack Snyder's career, honestly, because I feel like he has put so much weight on his shoulders with the quality of this thing by saying mine was going to be great. They messed it up. Give me all this money and I'll show you how good it could be. Now, if he doesn't come through on that, I feel like, do you think that that's going to really affect his career?
I don't know. I mean, you look at the movies that get made, the money some people get, unless it's just absolute garbage and it's just panned across the board by the Snyder fans and studios and critics and general audience, that's probably what it would take to really be detrimental to his career. And I don't see it being that bad. And
let me tell you, I don't think that the Snyder fans will have a bad thing to say about it anyway. Those guys, he has such a hardcore fan group. They're going to worship him no matter what he puts out.
That's a good point.
But all right, so another piece of news that came out last week that we were going to talk about is a Willy Wonka prequel, and I don't really know how to feel about that, honestly. It's something, I guess. What do you think? Are you interested in something like this?
I mean, kind of is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I kind of liked, actually, just when this came out, I decided to rewatch the original Willy Wonka. Still a fantastic movie. But part of the fun of that is the mystery behind Willy Wonka, and you get a little bit of a backstory with the Oompa Loompas and that kind of thing. But I don't really need to see him going to the island and rescuing them, or his childhood, like in the Johnny Depp remake, which I hate that movie. And they go through his his tragic backstory, how his dentist dad didn't like candy. It's like, why couldn't it just be a kid who liked candy, so he made a candy factory? But I like the unknown in a character like that. It adds to the fun. You can let your imagination run wild. But like I said with the Snyder Cut, I hope it's good. And depending who they cast, I know I've seen Timothée Chalamet's name thrown around, maybe Tom Holland. But I'd like to see someone who can sing. That's kind of the thing I'd be looking for. So I don't know if Taron Egerton could do it, but he kind of came to mind. But if they make it a fun, a true musical, like the first one's considered a musical, but there aren't a ton of songs.
Right.
But if they went that route, then I'd be in. We talked about musicals.
So you don't want a dark psychological Joker origin story of Willy Wonka.
In a way, I would, because it'd be so unexpected. Like, they're going the cookie cutter route, safe, kind of goofy and fun. But if they went just super dark with it, I mean, it'd be different. And so I'd be into that.
They're not going to do that. Especially, I don't know if you saw. I think they said the director attached is the guy who did Paddington. So I think we're getting
I hadn't seen that part. I kind of throws that one out the window.
Lovable kind of movie.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a movie and it's a known property, and I'm wondering if that's going to be the norm for the next couple of years as studios kind of feel out where audiences are at, or if they don't want to take a risk on a brand new project or idea, that they'll take something that is a known quantity like Willy Wonka, like a Justice League remake, and say, hey, fans know about this. Right. Anyone who liked the first or the previous iterations, they're going to watch this. They know it's a guaranteed, it's not money maker. It's not going to be a money loser, most likely.
Right.
So I would bet over the next, year, 18 months or so, as the country hopefully starts to open up a little bit more, that a lot of the projects are either going to be low budget original ideas, or the big budgets are going to go to things like this, something that people are already familiar with.
And things like Godzilla versus Kong, which is what we were going to talk about next. So originally last week this was on the schedule, but we were going to be saying, hey, this Sunday the trailer's coming out and it's going to be exciting to see it. Now we've already seen the trailer. What are your thoughts on the trailer? What were your first impressions?
I thought it was about as good as I could have expected from it. You get these monster movies. I really don't care about the human story there. Like you need
Right.
them so they can propel the story along because they're not talking creatures or monsters, at least not yet.
Right.
We'll never know what direction they're going to
Yeah.
go with it. But I just want to see big giant monsters fight each other. Like, just give me some badass fight scenes and I'm decent acting the rest of the way, and I'm good. And based on the trailer, that's what we're gonna get.
Were you not to go off from this too far, but were you a fan of I think it was 2011, the first Godzilla movie to come out in this MonsterVerse? Because that was kind of the opposite of what you're saying. That was a little bit of action at the end with a whole lot of human element.
Is that the Bryan Cranston one?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that one was fine. I mean, Bryan Cranston, he obviously helps elevate anything he's in. But still, if it's a Godzilla movie, show me some Godzilla. Make him
I agree with you.
The preeminent, feature of the story. They're doing a lot of cool things with the lighting and the set design, so it's going to be a visual spectacle if nothing else. And I'm really hoping I'm able to catch this one in theaters because this is one that's for sure going to play better on a big screen. But I'll watch it. I'll watch it at home if I have to. But what were your thoughts?
I thought the trailer was a great trailer. I think Kong looks great, Godzilla looks great, and they did a good job in the trailer of showing how these two look when they fight, which is friggin' like awesome. When they were fighting on that big freaking ship, the ship out in the ocean. First of all, I was thinking, how strong is this ship to like
exactly
Kong and Godzilla without sinking? But it looked awesome. You could see the whole weight of it was rocking and stuff, and it looks really cool. Kong like jumps off when the beam blasts up behind him. I'm just hoping, like you are, that they don't do only 2 bits of action. I hope it's not like one fight, a lull until the end, and then one more fight that aren't long. We need big, long battles here. Now, as far as the story, do you have what are your theories here? Because the plot from what they give us in the trailer is that they're bringing in Kong to take down Godzilla because Godzilla has been going rogue and destroying people, where the last couple Godzilla movies, Godzilla has kind of been their hero, their protector. So what do you think the reasoning behind this is?
I haven't really given the specifics of the plot too much thought. As long as it logically makes sense, I'll be okay with that, assuming we get the monster fights. That's what I'm going to pay for. But I would love it if Kong and Godzilla teamed up at the end, and then in the next movie they need to bring in their own monsters to fight them, and we just get these massive monster fights just all over the place. That's what I'd be hoping for.
Yeah, I feel like that's where they're going to go because I'm like 95% certain that Mechagodzilla is going to be in this movie. Like, you get a glimpse of what appears to be Mechagodzilla in the very beginning when the people are like running down into the subway. Looks like a big metal Godzilla with some like red lights, but it's really quick. And so some theories have been that this Godzilla that's been going rogue is actually Mechagodzilla, and that his robotic under exterior will be exposed later, or Godzilla is being manipulated by people. Obviously, we're trying to control him, but in one way or another, I think Mechagodzilla is going to play a factor in here, and it could very well be a team up. And if we see Godzilla and King Kong beating up a robot Godzilla, that's going to be cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, just don't shroud it in darkness. We can see what's happening, and I'm 100% in.
All right. Here's something that got brought up. There's talk of a Harry Potter series in the works at HBO Max. I mean, HBO Max has kind of been on fire. HBO just in general with their series. They're known for giving out really good series. The Sopranos, The Wire, things like that are classics, and they've been putting out Westworld and Lovecraft Country and things like that. So I'm excited for anything that they're going to be putting out. So if they do this, I think that this is the place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, HBO has as good a track record as anybody. They had Game of Thrones as a staple fantasy series for, I think it was on for 9 or 10 years over the 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't end on the highest note, but it's still, was mega popular throughout its run. And Amazon's got the Lord of the Rings series coming out. They might be looking for their own kind of fantasy series to get back into the swing of things. And I think it should be noted that there's no confirmation of this, at least not that I've seen yet. They're just in the very, very early talks of it.
Yeah.
But I was talking with some friends about this, and we were all kind of agreeing that if Harry Potter was being adapted for the first time now, it probably would have gone to a TV series versus a movie. That's
Right.
that's kind of the general consensus we had there. And
no, I agree with you.
And for me, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I love it. Reread the book multiple times, watched the movies once every year, couple years. There's a lot of good source material already out there. So where they go with it is probably going to be the biggest thing for me.
Right. Because the most recent things that we've seen them adapt, we saw The Watchmen and Westworld, which both had movies as original sources. Obviously, there's the graphic novel for Watchmen, but they went in very different directions than those original source materials. So they aren't afraid to make things very different than what they're adapting. So yeah, I think that they likely could go some sort of prequel series, take it before Harry's, even there, maybe follow Harry's parents, things like that. I don't know, but I'd be excited to see where
I know
it goes.
the Young Marauders is kind of the fan favorite. Get James and Sirius and Lupin, and even Pettigrew was involved in that. Their time as friends at Hogwarts, and just before and after. That's been kind of in the lexicon and the fans' minds for a long time. So I'd be in for that. The biggest thing is whether or not it's going to be kind of like Marvel does, where if this property is going to be tied into the existing, like maybe the Fantastic Beasts franchise, or if it's just going to be separate. Because Fantastic Beasts, they messed that series up so bad. Like the first movie, you want to do one movie about Newt, fine. He doesn't deserve an entire franchise. Not when it's in the midst of the Dumbledore Grindelwald like friendship and falling out and ultimate battle. That's the story I'd want to see. And I don't know if they're going to go that route on a show if they're already maybe going that route on the movie. So that'd be my number one choice.
But series and movies being linked. I don't think HBO would link to those.
I would think not, but just in this day and age, it's got to be asked, I think.
Yeah,
I would hope not. I hope they just let them do their own thing, and what may come will come.
All right, sounds like we're on the same page. Have you been watching WandaVision?
Oh, dude, I love this show.
I love this show too.
So good. I grew up on the Nick at Night. My mom would make popcorn. We'd settle in for the Brady Bunch, or I Love Lucy, Andy Griffith, all that stuff. So when it popped up, even the black and white, I was totally fine with. I know some people
I love
are a little against that, but I mean, Elizabeth Olsen, she nailed the tone and just the style of the 50s, 60s, 70s sitcom character. I mean, it was like you were watching an actual sitcom from that era. And I honestly would have wanted them to do more overt references to shows. Obviously, they took bits and pieces from this, that, or the other show. But if they would have given me, did you watch I Love Lucy ever?
Dude, I Love Lucy is my favorite show still of all time.
I love it. Because I think the single thing I would have wanted to most see would be Wanda and Agnes redoing the Chocolate Factory episode, or at least that scene, or the what's it called, the Vita Vita Vegemin commercial, where she just gets drunker and drunker off of it.
Yes,
I mean, and I love it as is, but I know some people probably disagree with my take. They don't want it to be overt, but I would love for them to do just scene by scene. Give us the Brady Bunch where Jan breaks her nose by getting hit in the face with a football. Bring that in somehow.
The iconic episodes and moments.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be the whole episode, but they could have done the Chocolate Factory. Wanda's settling in, and Agnes is, giving her a chance at a job, and that's a 2-3 minute sequence.
Yeah,
and I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I know the biggest drawback I've seen from people is that they're doling out the mystery a little too slowly. That it's too much of a slow burn. I love what they're doing, but what do you think about how they're handling that part?
Well, at Fandom Wire, we have a series that I host called Nerd Dog Reviews. So we do reviews, and Disney, Netflix, Warner Brothers, things like that. They'll give us early screeners. So I got to see the first 3 episodes of WandaVision a few weeks back before they aired them, and I had the same thoughts you did. And I said, there's going to be some people who don't like this because it's so different. But they're wrong. They're wrong. This is done perfectly because they nailed the tone. This is one of my favorite things to come out of the MCU in a long time. And I think it will still be one of my favorite things, even when it changes and progresses out of this sitcom feel, which I think is going to happen over the next couple of episodes. But dude, growing up, I was the same way. On Nick at Night, if you look, I have, all these figures back here. There's an I Love Lucy figure back there. I was the weird kid. I had the I Love Lucy board game, the collectible globe. I have, I drink out of a I Love Lucy coffee mug in the mornings. So I was digging it. And I said, if they put out a series where there was no mystery, there was no leading up to something bigger, it was just this black and white cheesy sitcom filled with Marvel characters, I would watch it. I loved it. Mm-hmm. So I do think that the next couple episodes are going to be really big as far as unraveling that mystery and where it goes. But it sounds like we're on the same page with just absolutely loving it.
Yeah, and I think in the first episode when they had, I'm forgetting her name, but the boss and his wife, when they were over for dinner, and they're asking him all the questions. I just think of her as Kitty from that '70s show.
Yeah.
They're asking him all the questions, and then she has this line where she kind of goes, just leave them be, let them tell their story. And and I didn't catch it at first, but I saw on Reddit or Twitter somewhere, it's like, that's a great kind of subtle call out to the fans, like, hey, we're gonna take care of you. The story will come. Let us do our thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was intentional. I'd imagine it was. I doubt there'd be something like that wasn't meticulously placed in there. But the way they're doing it, I'm 100% in. I mean, it's way funnier than I thought it was going to be. I figure they're doing the sitcom route. There's going to be some humor, but I think it's hysterical. I mean, when
and there's a lot of people saying that it's not funny, but I think it's you and I just appreciate. We know exactly what they're doing, the style they're doing. Yeah, if a TV show came out like this, now, and was, in color and wasn't trying to do, it's an homage, and they're nailing it perfectly. So it feels like I'm watching one of those old classic sitcoms, and I love it. I think it's really funny too, because that was that style of humor.
Yeah, I can't wait to see which shows they pull from next. I know there's been talk of Full House and maybe Modern Family, but when it gets into like the 90s, that I'm a 90s kid, so if there's some Full House, maybe Home Improvement or Family Matters, Fresh Prince, I don't know what they're gonna do, but I'm just geeked for those specifically, but just the rest of the season as a whole for sure.
Right. So it is 9 episodes. We're 3 episodes in, and they will be getting longer also. They're not all going to be 30 minutes.
Perfect.
Like they've been.
Now, the other thing, what do you think of I guess they did 2 episodes at once, but the weekly rollout versus the just dump them all at once?
I mean, obviously I would love to binge it, but I think that the weekly rollout, I'm good with it. I think we've gotten spoiled with just being able to binge everything at once, but then it's almost like a race against the clock. See it all before it gets spoiled online and this. Now I know Friday night I can watch it and then be excited for next week. And the way that they're rolling it out, Disney's going to be having one episode, one new thing hitting the streaming service every week year round is their goal. And they're already working on that with, Falcon and Winter Soldier. They have Loki. They have the Disney's Mighty Ducks series coming out that comes out, I think, in March. So we'll have something new to watch every week. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I am a big fan of the weekly rollout. I think, at least for me, it varies a little by the quality of the show. Like, if it's the better the show is, the more I want it to be week by week. Because at least when I binge something, I often forget a good amount. Because you go through it so fast, things run together, details trip you up. A show like Stranger Things is a good example, because I like it just fine. But after the first season, it's been okay. But I'd much rather binge that just in a weekend or over 3 or 4 days, just be done with it. And I enjoy the time, but then I've got other stuff to do. Whereas this, I wake up on Friday and I'm like, oh, it's WandaVision day. I cannot wait till I get home from work, get some dinner, pop it on. First thing I do to start the weekend. Like, I really like the weekly rollout. And have they confirmed if that's what they're doing for the rest of the shows, the Marvel shows at least?
I'm almost certain, because when they did their investors meeting, that's what they said, was that they are going to have something new hitting once a week,
Perfect.
year round
Perfect.
plan. So it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a great tone setter. You know, it's something weird, something different, and it's still this good. Then you get into the more, quote unquote, traditional Marvel properties, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki.
Right.
I'm my expectations were already high, and they just got higher after
Yes.
WandaVision.
All right. Well, sounds like we absolutely agree. And those people who say it's boring and cheesy and everything, they're wrong. And people complain about the laugh track. That's not even a laugh track. It's a live studio audience, because they're going that much. They're paying that much homage. That's how they're doing it.
I love that they. I mean, everything down to the smallest detail. And a lot of
Yeah.
people would have said, the laugh track is too much. Let's just leave it out. But it just adds to the entire, feeling and environment, and it wouldn't work as well without it.
You can't have a sitcom like that without those laughs. How they go. But all right, let's move on and wrap things up. Again, there wasn't a ton of news, but do you have anything to recommend to me or our viewers? I've been a fan of the things you have recommended to us in the past, so I'm excited to hear what you got.
Yeah, I've got a few, depending on how much time you want to go with. But the first one is definitely going to be, I finally watched Ted Lasso, the Apple TV Plus series. It's incredible. It's just amazing. Now, are you familiar with the commercials that this is based off of?
No.
So for you and for those who don't know, so it's Jason Sudeikis plays Ted Lasso. He's a American football coach who gets hired to coach a soccer team in England. And it's kind of like a major league type deal where she doesn't want to move the team, but her husband and her co-own the team, or own the team together. He cheated on her or left her for a younger woman, and she wants to ruin the thing he loved the most. So she's trying to make the team bad. So she hires this guy who has no idea what he's doing. Now the commercials are from 7 or 8 years ago, and they're amazing. They're hysterical. If you want to watch them, it's go to YouTube. American Coach in London, Ted Lasso. There's maybe a couple of them. They softened him up a little bit from the commercial to the show. He's kind of, in the commercial, he's more of that stereotypical dumb American, doesn't really know how to act outside of his hometown. And in the show, he's just a big clueless sweetheart. Like, he's a great football coach, and he's a good coach. He knows how to talk, work with people, mentor people. He's clueless about the actual game of soccer. And it's from Bill Lawrence, who most people probably know from Scrubs. Some might know from Spin City as well. And when you think of that, did you watch Scrubs?
I did, but I didn't watch it all. I actually had it on just the other day watching some.
So one of the things about Scrubs, it's a really funny show, but it's got a real heart to it as well. Some really emotional moments. And Bill Lawrence brings that into Ted Lasso in really unexpected and very welcome ways. And it's really funny. But I mean, the story, once you find out why he moved there, and some of the other emotional plot lines of him and the other coaches or players, it's just phenomenal. I mean, this and WandaVision are probably two of the best new shows I've seen in a long time. But like you mentioned, Apple TV Plus is the little hang up.
Yeah, now, I don't have Apple.
A couple things with that. I kind of lucked out. I bought a new laptop, MacBook. When you buy most new Apple devices, you just get a free year of Apple TV. So if you're in the market, nice little bonus. But then they also do a free week trial, I believe. Plenty of time. It's only 10 episodes. Easy to just knock it out. It's also only $5 a month. So if that's not much, it's worth it to maybe give it a month or two, because there's not a lot of original content on there. I haven't watched anything else besides that yet. A couple other shows I might check out. But I don't have enough good things to say about it. We'll see where WandaVision ends up when the season's over. But Ted Lasso, this is the best season of a new show I've seen in a really long time.
Well, yeah, that's exciting. If I ever get Apple TV, I will surely check it out.
What do you got for us?
The thing that I have to recommend is not as glowing of a recommendation. I'm not saying it's anything amazing or spectacular, but I watched a couple days ago Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, Rami Malek's new movie, The Little Things.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow in theaters and on HBO Max. So if you have HBO Max, you can watch it right at home. I did a review on it. It's on Fandom Wire. So I'm not going to make this, like a big review, but it is definitely worthwhile watching, especially for the cast alone. It's got the 3 Academy Award winning leads. They all do a great job with their roles, and it does accomplish a lot of what it sets out to be. It is an entertaining, thrilling at moments movie. It's worthwhile. It's not perfect, but it's better than sitting at home watching the same thing on Netflix over and over again. It's definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, I mean Denzel, he's been my favorite actor for 20 years or so probably. And I mean, if he's in it, it's an automatic. I'm gonna watch it. But this movie, like the Denzel's a cop. It's a serial killer they're tracking, I think, right? I mean, this is right up my alley. And even if it's bad, it's gonna be good. If that makes any sense.
Right.
I guarantee I'm gonna like this movie.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it just feels like I'm glad to hear you say that, because it felt like from the trailers that they could have messed this one up where it'd be kind of, oh, it's a fun enough movie, but there's a lot of sloppy plotting or bad dialogue or whatever it might be. But I'm really glad to hear you say that it actually is, stands on its own.
Yeah, I would say my biggest complaints about it, the dialogue, is fine. I don't have any complaints about that. When it comes to, the police work, it sometimes juggles back and forth with whether it wants to be like a realistic take on, police and detective work, and then they do these things that make no sense and no detective or cop would or could do that don't really fit, that kind of clash sometimes. It seems like it takes some elements, like it almost feels close to like a Fincher movie. I got some resemblances to like Zodiac and Seven without being as good as those movies.
That's tough bar to reach.
Yeah. So I would say the main thing is because of its runtime, it's a little over 2 hours. It has its lulls. It doesn't hold the tension as much as it, would like to. But I mean, all in all, it was worth watching. I thought it had a spectacular ending, beginning, and an okay middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely on my weekend to-do list.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think of it after you watch it.
Definitely.
You want to give us another one to close us out?
Yeah, this one, Freaks and Geeks, is finally streaming again. It was on Netflix a long time ago, I think maybe 5-10 years even. And I watched about 2 episodes, then took a break, then it was gone. Never to come back. Can't really find it to rent anywhere. The DVDs or Blu-rays are kind of pricey for just a 1-season show. And then someone just let me know, hey, yeah, it's coming to Hulu next week. And so I think either Sunday or Monday of this week, it came to Hulu. And it's only a 1-season show, 18 episodes, I believe. But, I'm definitely watching it now. I'm a couple episodes in again. And it's very good. This is exciting because I know how highly it's regarded, but I really don't know where the story goes. But I love seeing these well-known actors early on. Now this is more of a known quantity versus going back and watching a movie from the 70s and seeing someone in their first role. But I mean, from Paul Feig and Judd Apatow, those guys, and Judd Apatow just has an eye for talent. It's ridiculous. But Jason Segel, I think a 17-year-old Seth Rogen is in this. Linda Cardellini, always fantastic. Sam Levine, John Francis Daly, James Franco, Bussy Phillips. The crazy fan from Happy Gilmore is the dad, which I did not know. I saw him on the first episode and I was like, I know who this guy is. Where do I know him from? And then he made some joke. That's hilarious, by the way. He made some joke. I go, oh, it's the you're gonna miss this putt, jackass character. Like, oh, of course he's in this movie. This is incredible.
Right. No, I love it. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I watched it when it was on Netflix. That's when I watched it in its entirety. One of those shows that, like you said, has a cult following now. Canceled way too soon. They don't know what they had on their hands. I feel like if it would have run a couple more seasons, it probably would have picked up and been huge. It run for a while. I mean, The Office was almost canceled after the first season. The U.S. one. Sometimes it just takes a second for audiences to kind of connect with it, and I think that's what happened here. Did you ever see Undeclared?
I watched a few episodes as it was on, and then the same thing happened to me with that as did Freaks and Geeks. It was on either Netflix or Hulu. I watched a little bit, got distracted with other things, went back to pick it up again, and it was just gone. And I haven't seen it come back yet. So that one's on
I'm not sure if it is
my list
streaming anywhere.
I don't think it is anywhere. Not in any legal way, at least.
But I watched it when it was on Netflix or something like that too, because it was the same creative team, a lot of the same cast. It's like
Charlie Hunnam in his pre-Sons of Anarchy days.
Exactly, when he was real thin. So they had, they got Freaks and Geeks taken away from him. They moved it on to college. Let's try it again. And the same thing happened. It was a really good show. It's well regarded now, and it got canceled first season. It was like a curse to these guys. But, I mean, it all worked out for them in the end. They're all doing amazing.
I think they're doing okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You have anything else for us, Matt, or what are you thinking?
I mean, I can keep going on a couple more if you want, but I can always save them too. Maybe I'll go one.
How about we give us one more thing to take us out on, and then we'll close out.
Sure. It's a new 2021 movie. Also Jason Segel is in this one. It's called Our Friend. This one you've heard of?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I didn't see it, but I'm familiar with it.
Yep. So it's based on a true story. So Casey Affleck plays a journalist whose wife, played by Dakota Johnson, develops cancer. And I should have written it down. I don't remember if they say what kind of cancer it is, but anyway, she has cancer and it turns terminal. And Jason Segel is their best friend, and he basically moves in with them for what's planned to be a couple weeks to kind of just help with everything, because they've got a couple young daughters. And Casey Affleck, he's a traveling journalist. He has a lot of war correspondence, so he's in and out of the country all the time. So Jason Segel's character goes to just kind of help them get through with it. And it's just a really touching story. If you've seen Manchester by the Sea, Casey Affleck can nail the depressed adult, depressed despondent adult character. And it's a variation of the same character, obviously a different situation. But he's great again. Dakota Johnson continues to distance herself from the 50 Shades trilogy. She's a legitimately good actress and just proves it again.
I love Dakota Johnson.
And she proves it again here. Jason Segel, he's done a lot more serious work lately, not as much of the goofy comedies. I mean, the guy can act. He's great here. The one kind of drawback is that it's a new release, so it's still a premium video on demand rental. Still $20.
Right, that's why I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
I just decided to go for it. It was worth it for me, but I realized it won't be for everybody. But it's not really going to be heavily talked about in terms of spoilers. So and plus it's a true story, you could easily find out kind of the gist of it anyway.
Right.
But if there's nothing wrong with waiting for it to go down to $3, $4, $5 to rent. But if you're looking for new content to watch rather than rewatching your favorite movie for the 50th time, nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking for something new, this is the one to maybe put on the watch list and just keep
absolutely
an eye out for when it becomes more affordable or goes to streaming somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I really do like the cast, and I love Dakota Johnson. I mean, not only is she, like you said, a really good actress, but dude, that's one of my celebrity crushes. She's in my top 5. And what's funny is she did nothing for me in 50 Shades of Grey, which is when you actually are supposed to see all the sexy, sultry stuff. Did nothing. You know what movie really got me interested in her, where she became a crush, was Bad Times at the El Royale. Did you see that movie?
Yeah. And
now the movie,
I can see where that would do some things for you.
I really like the movie. I don't like the ending, but I really like the movie up until that final third act. But Dakota Johnson, she just plays this badass, tough as nails. She's confident and just sexy. And ever since then, I absolutely loved her in The Peanut Butter Falcon. That was one of my favorite movies when that came out. So, I agree. Dakota Johnson's great. I'm definitely going to check that one out. I don't know when, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, I think Bad Times was this close to being a great movie. It was very good, but it was right there.
I saw it in theaters
here and there, and it could have been one of the year's best.
If they would have taken that ending and made it. It needed a more explosive ending, dude. Once Chris Hemsworth showed up, everything should have gone berserk, and it just tamed out. And I was like, well, this is the climax. Why is it like taming out and just kind of teetering at this low pace?
Teased it with a couple moments, and then, yeah, they never really went full into it. And with that character going full bore crazy would have felt legitimate.
And we were climbing up and the tension was building, and then it got there and I was like, oh, here we go. And it just slowly came down. I said, oh, what a letdown. That's my only complaint. I still loved the movie, but that ending, I was like, ugh, that could have been so good.
Just missed.
But besides that, thank you for your recommendations, Matt. Where can people find you if they want to hear your thoughts and pick your brain?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Matt Hambidge.
All right. Awesome. And I am on Twitter and Instagram as well, Mr. Movie Guy 86. I haven't been very active, but who knows? Maybe I will be later on. Other than that, thanks for joining us. Sorry we missed last week. We will come back next week, hopefully with enough news to talk to everybody and keep everybody entertained. We will see you guys next time.
See you next week.